I'm going to guide you step by step on how to build your resume to get interviews at your target companies. I'm going to show you how to really sell yourself, sell your skills, sell your experience. I'm going to show you how to follow all the systemic best practices to increase your chances of landing interviews. We're also going to go through all the problem areas related to hiring and getting past the application stage, related to ageism, employment gaps, if you're making a career change, if you've had multiple short-term contracts, whatever it is, we're going to pile right through all them problems. You're going to get access to a resume template, an instruction manual, and yeah, we're going to build it together. I'm going to show you how to do it, because I'm going to be building one with you. So we're in it together. And by the end of this video, you will have a phenomenal resume that's gonna sell your skills, and it's not gonna read like pure AI slop. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. Below this video, there is a link to a resource pack. Open that resource pack up, make sure you're signed into Google, and in folder 1, you'll see an instruction manual. Open up that bad boy. So basically, this is what we're going to go through. We're going to go through the resume writing process step by step. It's pretty easy to follow. Step 1, open up the resume template. So this resume template is optimized for online application systems. You don't have to worry about anything. Just click File, click Make a Copy, and save it to your drive. So the first thing we're going to do is name the document. So first name, last name, put in the job title that you're targeting, customer success operations, and just put the month and the year. Knob. It shows the recruiter that you're organized, that this is your most recent resume. It's just a better look, just good practice. So next we're going to fill in your contact information. So best practices here. First name, last name, your email. So with your email and with a lot of what I'm going to discuss today, it's all about reducing bias, reducing recruiter bias, because if the recruiter makes a false assumption based on something that you have put on this digital piece of paper, you might get rejected. So everything we're doing is to try and reduce the probability that the recruiter makes a false assumption about who you are and what you can do. So with your email, you want to avoid putting in your year of birth. Don't use an AOL account or a Yahoo account, because some recruiters will think you haven't stayed up to date with technology. So best to just go with a Gmail, and no 69 or filthy numbers of that nature. Oh yeah, and you know, with the email, check your spam folder daily, of course. With your phone number, make sure you have a voicemail set up. Add the country code if you're applying to jobs outside of where you live, if you're applying to companies in America. So with the location, you have an advantage if you live close to the workplace where the job is located. So if you live close, put in the town and the city where you live. But if you live maybe an hour plus away, just keep it to either the state, the city, the city or the state. Keep it more broad. If you're applying to jobs abroad, this is the format I recommend you go with. So you can put relocating to, I'm in Dublin. Yeah, so if I apply for a job in London, a recruiter might think that I might have applied by mistake. So you want to let the recruiter know that your intention is to move to the country that you're applying to. So this can help get you qualified in for interviews. So I'm just going to leave mine Dublin, Ireland now. And then with LinkedIn, just hyperlink the LinkedIn text and just make sure that it goes to your LinkedIn profile. If you have a portfolio, you can do the very same thing. So if you're in a creative domain, yeah, you see here, I can just add portfolio and just hyperlink the word portfolio and make sure it links out to your portfolio. So we're going to get ChatGPT to do the majority of the writing for us, rewriting our experience for our target role. Now I'm using ChatGPT. There are other large language models out there like Claude, Gemini, Google seem to be a lot of shy, but ChatGPT is the best at the moment. That might change in the future. So right now, November 2024, we're going with ChatGPT. So go to the instruction manual, and on the left hand side, if you scroll On the sidebar, click Setting Up ChatGPT, and I've just included some general instructions for the prompts within this document. So all the prompts are highlighted in yellow, but the information that's bolded in black within the yellow text is where you need to put in your own details, your own information. I'm also using British English, so if American English is more common in your country, make sure that you switch the language accordingly. So let's just open up ChatGPT and throw in the first prompt, setting up ChatGPT. So just copy that in, whack it in, and away you go. So now we've instructed ChatGPT that we want to write, we need help with writing our resume. We don't want any fluff. We just want it to be focused on making our experience clear, concise, and tailored for our target job. Next, you need to find a well-written job description. So find a job description for the role that you want, that you plan on applying for, because we're going to be building your resume to target one specific role. That gives you the best chance of getting an interview. You can go to Indeed and LinkedIn for this. I'm going for a customer service type role, so this one here with Udemy. The job description is well laid out. They have a good list of required skills. They have some information about the job. They have a comprehensive list of what I'll be doing, and they have a list of requirements, mandatory requirements. So you'll know a good job description when you come across it. Some job descriptions, especially from recruitment agencies, are very short and vague and shite. So you want to find a well-written one where they've expanded on the company, what they do, what the role entails. So just browse around and see what you can find. So when you find a good, well-written job description for the type of role you want, get the next prompt in there, job description review prompt. So we're going to get ChatGPT to review the job description so it understands it and gets a good idea of the job we want. So ChatGPT has carefully reviewed the job spec. Now, what I will say is that it's important for you to read the job description as well. Get a good understanding of what your target companies are looking for, because as you're building your resume, you'll figure out, okay, maybe that's not a good idea to include, maybe that is. You'll just have a more comprehensive understanding of what you need to put on your resume. So spend a little time reading the job descriptions. So now it's time to start building out your professional experience section. We're going to go straight to the professional experience section. We're going to skip past the professional summary, because what we write in the professional experience section is going to dictate what we put in here. So straight into the professional experience section. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the experience from your most recent resume and use ChatGPT to rewrite that experience and tailor it for your target job. And once ChatGPT has tailored your experience, we're going to add it to your new resume. Now, if you don't have a recent resume to work from, don't worry, because in a little bit I'm going to show you how to write your experience from scratch if you've no previous resume to work from. For now, just follow along, follow the instructions, and do what you can, and then we'll come back to you. So we're going to start with your most recent job and work backwards. So for each role, include your job title, the company name, the location, and your employment dates. Make sure you include the months and the years in your employment dates. If you don't include the months, it looks like you're hiding something. For the location, you can add the word remote beside your location. This just gets across you have experience working remotely, which might help your cause. If you worked at a lesser known, relatively unknown company, you can add a company description. So I've included in the section for professional experience, under employment details, I have a company description template that you can use to describe your company. And what this does, it just basically helps the recruiter connect your experience to the role that they're hiring for. So if they have a better understanding of how your company operates, who their customers are, who they serve, etc., they'll be able to go, okay, well, this person has experience with these customers, maybe they can help us. So use the template there. Not every part of the template might be relevant to you. You know, you might not be able to get the revenue, for example, of your employer. You can also use ChatGPT to generate a short description of your company. So the company description prompt here will do that for you, because ChatGPT can now search the web. So let it do your dirty work. If you were laid off, if your contract ended, let the recruiter know. Add context to your employer. Yeah, to your professional experience section where possible. So for example, this is my old resume that I'm going to update. You can see here that it's just very basic, big professional summary. This has gone out of fashion, by the way, people. But you could add here to add context, contract ended, or that's how you would lay out that. Let's say the role ended in fucking Aug 2022. That's how you do it. Just tell the recruiter, I didn't get fired. You know, this was just a short term, lad. So yeah, so go to your old resume, get your company details and fill them in there. So now that you've added the basic details of your most recent job, it's time to rewrite and tailor the description of your responsibilities and achievements. We're going to rewrite your experience. We're going to tailor it for the role that you are planning on applying for. So starting from your most recent job, we are going to write bullet point 1. Now, with bullet point 1, it allows you to give an overview, a summary of what you did, a high-level overview of your role, and this helps connect your experience to what the recruiter is looking for. It just quickly tells them, this is what I did, this is what I looked after, this is what I managed. And with this method, with using bullet point 1, all of the duties and responsibilities and achievements that appear underneath bullet point 1 are going to make more sense to the recruiter. They're going to be clearer. So bullet point 1 really sets the stage for helping the recruiter understand how you're qualified for the role, and this will really help get you past the application stage. And you can also use this bullet point to show how your level of responsibility and the scope and scale of your work has slowly increased as you've moved through different roles. The idea here is to show how you've progressed through your career. If possible, try and figure out, are there ways that you can show progression through each role that you held, and you can do this with bullet point 1 under each job that you held. So in the instruction manual, I've of course included a template that you can use, that you can fill in. I've tried to make it as templatized, is that even a fucking word? I've tried to make it relevant to most people. Some of these areas in the template, in bullet point 1, under the bullet point 1 heading, some of them might not be relevant, but just fill in what's relevant to you. See, can you use the template to give you examples of what bullet point 1 will look like. I've put together a resource that includes a list of duties and responsibilities tailored for specific job titles, and you'll find that in the Google Drive folder number 3, duties and responsibilities. It's also linked here in the instruction manual. You will see in the duties and responsibilities document that bullet point 1 for each job has one of these overview bullet points. So under the customer service heading, I have here oversee customer service and then you tell the recruiter the different industries that you work in, the size of the team you work with, the number of clients that you manage, etc. You're just given a high level overview. So if you need help with this section, run through bullet point 1 under each job title. That will help you. And of course, if you're really struggling, you can use ChatGPT, which is what I'm going to do. So I've included a prompt, bullet point 1 prompt here, and this will create a high level overview of each role that you held. So just fill in the areas in bold that are relevant to you. Not every section is going to be relevant, but just add in what you can, and we're directing ChatGPT to use the template that we've provided. I'm going to do a real basic job here for all of us lazy folk that just couldn't be arsed. Main responsibility, helping customers through IT problems. Department I supported was customer service. Team size, worked with a team of 10, managed vendors and liaised with stakeholders at monthly meetings where I provided insights and reports with data to influence this strategic decision making. Big wigs. We had 150 clients. The regions was just Ireland. Strategies that I used, I'm just going to leave that blank. Outcome, hit CSAT scores 95%. Technologies I used, Salesforce, and then that's it. ChatGPT will now fill in bullet point 1. Supported customer service operations with a team of 10, managing 150 clients across Ireland, leveraging Salesforce to resolve, liaise with vendor, and deliver data-driven insights that influence strategic achieving. Okay, that's pretty good. And once you have bullet point 1 finished, next we're going to update the experience from our old resume and tailor it for the job that we're applying for. So we're going to take the duties and the responsibilities from your most recent resume. We're going to throw them into ChatGPT to rewrite them and align them with the requirements of your target job. So how do you do that? Well, if you scroll down into the instruction manual, rewriting previous experience prompt, step 2 under rewrite and tailor your experience with ChatGPT, and just copy the prompt and fill in the placeholders. So here are the duties I held as a customer service supervisor. Old resume, I'm grabbing what I did, pasting them in here, and then please rewrite my experience to align with the customer success operations. So that's the job title, because I gave ChatGPT that description. ChatGPT knows that this is the job that I want. And I'm just going to hit enter there, and ChatGPT will start to rewrite my experience and tailor it for my target role. Now, when ChatGPT spits out these duties and responsibilities, later on I'm going to show you ways that you can humanize this text a little more and personalize it and make it more authentic. But for now, you just want to make sure that read through what it gives you and just make sure everything's clear and makes sense. And it's not too wordy, it's not too fluffy. This prompt generally removes a lot of fluff, but in the instruction manual under step 3, you'll see review and refine. And I've just included a couple of prompts for you to use if you feel that, some of this text is unclear, if it's too long, if it feels vague, if it doesn't really fucking tell the reader anything. But just for now, just for demonstration purposes, I'm just gonna bang it into my resume. So off you go now. Rinse and repeat that process for each job that you held. And you can tell, you don't have to rewrite the entire prompt for ChatGPT. You can say, do the same with this. And then copy the duties from your next job. Do the same with this for my role as a customer assistant. And then ChatGPT will remember the instructions that you've given it, and you can just copy that in. All right, so we're going to come back. We're going to find ways to improve these, but for now, they just read through them, just make sure they're clear. Go back and forth with ChatGPT if you feel they're not relevant or they're just a bit fluffy or whatever it is. Go back and forth. We're going to go through some ways to improve them, and yeah, but just for now, let's just keep it moving. So a couple of questions I usually get: how many duties and achievements should you list for each role? Well, think about it. What we're building here is your master resume. So we're going to try and get everything related to your target role here. And then when you go to apply for the job, you're going to make a copy of this document and then tailor it, tweak it a little bit to match up more closely with the other jobs that you're applying for. So I'm going to show you how to do all that later on in the guide. But in general, when you apply for a job, 4 to 6 bullet points is a good number to aim at, I suppose, and good split of achievements and duties and responsibilities is helpful. The most important thing is that each line under each job tells the recruiter, the hiring manager, something new. You're not repeating information. It's not redundant. Each bullet point adds something new to your resume and helps sell a different aspect of your relevant experience. And if you're looking through this and you're looking through the job and you're like, there's actually a few gaps here. I don't have this requirement. I don't have that requirement, so on and so forth. Don't worry about it, because before we wrap up, I'm going to show you how you can compare your resume to the job description, figure out what's missing, and then I'll show you how you can fill those gaps, either through figuring out that you do have relevant experience or focusing on your transferable skills or similar achievements or duties that show you can handle the gaps, the missing experience. So don't worry about that for now. How far back should you go? Generally, the last 10 years to 15 years, I'd be focusing on the last 10 years. That's most important. And then anything after that, I'd be laying out as, so if I had a job in 2010, say, I'd be putting earlier professional experience, and then I'd put just keep the information minimal. So the job title, the company name, and the employment dates. And that's how I'd lay that out. For jobs 15 to 20 years ago, I wouldn't be including them. If I was including them, I'd just include the job title and company name. I wouldn't be adding dates because that will introduce age discrimination, age bias. So it really depends on if your older positions are relevant for the role you're targeting for, but generally just keep it focused on the last 10 to 15 years. So as I mentioned, if you don't have an up-to-date resume to work from, either try and find your job description for your previous role. You might find that in your emails, in your old emails, maybe your old contract. If you can't find it and you have nothing to work from, in the instruction manual, section 4, under no recent resume, you can ask ChatGPT to create relevant experience based on your target role. So I'm just going to give ChatGPT the job description again, just as a refresher. So based on my target role, create 6 bullet points for my role as a customer support agent, and then add your target role at the end, hit enter, and ChatGPT will drum up 6 sample bullet points that you can have a look at and go, okay, I did this, I did that, I didn't do that, so I'm not going to include that, and then add them to your resume. Now, it's worth doing this anyway, even if you have an up-to-date resume, because you'll see some of the experience that your target employer is looking for. And then you might go, oh, I've actually done this, but I haven't added it on my most recent resume, so I'm gonna add it to my new resume. So it's worth just doing this anyway, and then make the changes to your resume. So yeah, just figure out what is relevant to your experience here, what you've actually done, and add it to the relevant sections. And when it comes to selling yourself on your resume, I want you to take a look at what you've done and think about it, right? Because a lot of us will just say that we've helped or we've assisted or we've supported projects, but you want to focus on the parts of your work or the projects you worked on. You want to focus on the parts that you led, that you influenced, that you directed. You want to talk about the specific improvements that you made, not the entire team, that you made. Maybe you improved something. Think about how your contributions impacted the company, how your contributions made things happen, how they improved sales, how they reduced costs, how they reduced risk, how you made things faster, more efficient. Think about what was the purpose of your work. Describe what your work allowed to happen for your team, for your department, for your work as well. You can talk about your work as well. You also want to try and add numbers where possible. I'm going to show you how to do that now in a moment. When you're selling yourself here and you're talking about the impact that you had on the company, talking about outcomes, talking about results, work them in. Talk about what good came out of your work. So run through your duties and responsibilities and see, can you add outcomes? Can you add achievements? Can you beef them up? Can you talk about what your work made happen for the company, how your company benefited? Think about that, really think about that, because that's going to convince recruiters to bring you in for interviews. If you can talk about business results, because it's all business. And if you don't have results, talk about, if you've nothing to measure, if you've no metrics, if you've no numbers, talk about what your work is aiming to accomplish. Talk about the impact that you anticipate. We're doing this, we're doing XYZ to increase sales, or I came up with a way to incorporate customer feedback into the website changes to increase customer satisfaction drive contract renewals, increase loyalty. Focus on what you're trying to achieve, you're trying to accomplish. And just as I touched on, adding numbers to your resume is going to provide concrete proof of your skills and, quickly demonstrate the impact that you had on the company. Like a simple example would be if you trained employees. So you could just say, oh yeah, I trained new employees, right? You could say that, or you could say I trained 100 employees over a 3-month period. The second one just sounds better because you're showing off the scale of your work. You're demonstrating the size of your responsibility. And, this just adds more social proof. It creates a more competent candidate in the recruiter's head, because if they can handle that level of responsibility, maybe they can handle it for me as well. So review your duties and responsibilities here and look for areas that you can add numbers to. It could be just the size of the team that you worked with, the number of clients you served, the size of the contracts, the size of the customer contract, the size of the budget that you worked with, that you managed, that you helped organize. When it comes to making things better, faster, talk about how many hours you saved the company or the department per year. If you made a process faster by an hour every day, if you saved your department an hour of labor every day, multiply that out over a year and then add that to your resume. You can also add the time frame. So let's say you manage the employee training program. You want to talk about how long you did it for. Did you do it for a week? Did you do it for 12 months? 12 months is going to look way better. That's the way you need to think about it. And of course, we're going to use ChatGPT to figure out where you can add numbers. So if you scroll down to the adding numbers prompt in the professional experience section, and you can just copy this prompt in and just add your title, customer service supervisor, copy in the duties, and you're going to do this for each job that you held. Yeah, so copy in the duties. And then ChatGPT will just help you come up with different ways that you can add numbers to your resume. So run through this. ChatGPT will do each responsibility or duty step by step and give you ideas on how you can add numbers. So take your time with this one. Figure it out. So once you've done that for each role and you've found the areas that you can quantify and you've made the updates to your resume, you've probably noticed that there's some areas that you don't have numbers for, that you can't add outcomes for. And that's fine, because like I talked about, you can talk about your contributions and how they benefited the team, department, the company. Just flesh out your work. So I'll run through a few examples. If you freed up time, if you streamlined the process, if you made something faster, this allowed your department or team members to take on additional clients or customers and handle more projects. And then that, of course, led to increased profits. So that's the way you need to think about it. What did it lead to? What came out of it? If you were nice to customers and they stayed loyal and they kept buying from the company, that increased profits. Did you train employees? Did you mentor employees? Did those trained employees go on to make money for the company or get promoted? Did you help reduce the number of people that left? Did you make the training faster, better? Did that help increase retention and stop people from leaving? That's the way you need to think about it. So if you need more help with this, you might be struggling through this entire section. Don't be worrying, because if you scroll to the additional help section under the professional experience heading, you'll see that I have put together a resource pack of sample achievements and, as well as that, sample duties and responsibilities for specific jobs. So if you open up both of these documents, you'll find on the left hand side the different professions. So see if your job title is listed there, and then go through the achievements. And if you see one that's relevant to what you did in your work, add it to your resume. And of course, tweak it, tailor it, maybe ask ChatGPT to reword it, because lots of people will be using this document. So yeah, go through both the achievements doc and the duties and responsibilities doc. In the duties and responsibilities doc, you'll find ways to add metrics to your experience, but you'll also find ways to sell yourself and sell your experience without metrics. And I've even included in the achievement stock no number examples at the end. So this will give you more ideas on how you can, just get your strong experience and your skills onto your resume. Now, if you don't see your job title listed here, what you can do is you can hit Control F if you're on Windows, and you can put in keywords related to the work that you did. So if I want to put in training, I'm going to get 97 achievements related to training. So I can just scroll through these 97 examples, see if any of them are relevant to what I did, and then add them to my resume and tweak them and add the relevant information as well. So a lot of these examples will include templates to add information specific to your role. So they're going to be unique if you do that, if you fill in the areas properly. So run through both documents, get more ideas on how you can really juice up your resume and make it stronger. Take your time with that. So have fun. And then hit play when you've gone through both documents, and we'll keep moseying on. Rightio. So now that you've updated your resume with some of these strong bullet points and achievements and duties, I just want to touch on job titles. Can you change your job title? Because some of our job titles don't match up with what we do on a day-to-day basis. And so if we're applying for a job, a recruiter or a hiring team might not fully understand our role based on the job title that our company uses. Companies use loads of different names for the same job. So it can be helpful to tweak and tailor your job title for the specific role you're applying for. And you can do that in a few ways, right? What I will say is, if you're changing your job title, if you're adding something onto it, if you're tweaking it around, don't change the level that you operated at. If you weren't a manager, don't say you were a manager. Just keep it at the same level. If you're filling out an official job application, you're going to have to use your official job title. Remember, the resume, this isn't a legal document, so you can tinker with things. If you plan on changing your job title, it's worth speaking to your references just to make sure that your stories align and there's no discrepancies when the hiring company rings up your employers and says, Paddy says that he was a customer service agent. It's like, no, he was actually a client advisor. It's like, they're both the same fucking thing. It's a good idea to make sure your stories align with your references. So if I have a reference, I'm going to say, look, this company might call you and they're going to say that I was a client advisor, and is that all right? And then there you go. Now, in the instruction manual, I've included, under changing job titles, I've included some examples of how you can tweak your job title, right? We have 5 options here, 5 options. The first one is actually just making small adjustments to better reflect your responsibilities and align the job title closer with the role that you're applying for. So if you're an event assistant, but you're applying for an event coordinator role, I just change my job title to event coordinator. If I'm applying for a retail sales associate job, but my official job title is store associate, I'm just going to change it to retail sales associate. It's not that big of a deal. It's the same thing. It's just a translation issue. Admin assistant to office administrator, what's the big deal? Now, if this makes you uncomfortable and you're straight edged and you don't want to touch anything, what I recommend you do is go with a dual job title. Dual. So here's a few examples. If I'm a marketing assistant and I'm applying for a graphic designer role, I'm going to put marketing assistant / graphic designer because I do some graphic design in my job, but it's not my official title. So you can add a second job title to your official job title to just tell the recruiter that although I am an executive assistant and I do loads of admin, I also coordinate projects. And I'm a great fit for this project coordinator job that you're hiring for. So let me fucking in. Another option is to add your area of specialization onto your job title. So for example, let's say that I'm a customer service representative, but I'm applying for an IT support role. And maybe I do a little bit of IT in my job, right? I do a little bit of IT support. I'm going to add customer service representative dash technical support. So with the area of specialization, you're focusing it on the main aspect of the role that you're applying for. So if I'm an account executive, but I'm applying for a B2B sales role, and I deal with B2B stuff in my current role, I'm just going to add dash B2B sales, just again to connect my experience with the role I'm applying for. If you're applying for a more senior position, you can get this across by showcasing your leadership experience. So, let's say I'm the team leader when the manager's out. I could put customer service specialist, acting team lead in brackets. So have a look here at the different ways that you can tell the recruiter that, look, I'm the head honcho here when management is out. So get that into you. The last option is if you are a freelancer or you're self-employed, you don't want to use job titles like owner, founder, CEO. The recruiter is just going to go, why is a CEO applying for an operations assistant job? You have the freedom to tailor your job title based on the role you're applying for. So if you help run the family business, you don't want to put owner or manager. You want to put, let's say you're applying for an operations job, operations manager. If you run an online store, you don't want to say you're a founder or an owner. You want to make it specific to the job. So if you're applying for a marketing role, you could put e-commerce marketing specialist. So that's how you go about it. So look through your job titles, and if you can tinker around with them, consider that. One thing I want to go through here is in folder number 4, you'll see a folder called promotion examples. So basically, I've put together a few ways that you can demonstrate how you've grown or progressed through the same companies. So the reason I'm telling you this is that if you put multiple job titles on your resume at the same company, a recruiter might think that you worked at multiple different companies, and if they were short-term positions, they might think you were job hopping. So how I recommend you reduce any risk of this is that you add the total length of your employment at the top and then list out each role that you held. So there's different ways that you can do this. Here's another example. You can have the total length of employment, and then you can show the different positions that you held. If there's a lot of overlap, you can merge them together. Here's another example. You can give an overview, and then you can split the role by the specialization area. So run through, if you've held multiple roles at the same company, run through those examples. It'll definitely help you with, just showing off how you've quickly show that you've progressed and that you've stayed at a company for a fair amount of time. That wraps up the professional experience section of your resume for now. We're going to come back to it, but we're going to keep moving on. So next is education. Professional experience is most important for anyone who has a couple of years experience, right? If you're a graduate, if you've just left school, of course, education is going to be prioritized at the top of your resume. But if you've worked professionally, your professional experience comes first, education after. So just add your education, fill it in using the template, and you don't need to add the months, just the year. I would exclude any years, any dates from education or certifications that are 15, 20 years old, just to remove any risk of bias. So yeah, fill that in. Fill in the education and fill in the certs and professional training. I don't have any certs, so I'm going to delete that. Next is the skills section. So this is where we get to the part of ATS optimization, because we want to incorporate key terms and key skills to show the recruiter, first of all, that we have the skills that they're looking for, but secondly, to increase your visibility in company hiring systems, the ATS. Because how it works is that when you apply for a job, especially at a larger company, and they use an ATS, a profile for you will be created on the system. So you want to think of the ATS as a digital filing cabinet is how recruiters refer to it. So it just helps recruiters organize applications, candidates, it helps them store resumes, it lets them add internal notes, it lets them track where each candidate is along the hiring process. It just helps them organize things. And sometimes recruiters will go to the ATS, and if they're looking for a candidate with specific skills, they can perform what's called a Boolean search, where they could put in customer service supervisor plus Salesforce. So that would show them candidates who have the job title customer service supervisor and have experience using Salesforce. So this is why it's good to include technical skills, key skills, because it helps you become more visible in the hiring system. And if you're more visible, that will help you get more interviews. So this is what we mean by ATS optimized. And how hiring systems pull in your information and create a profile is that they parse your resume, they scan your resume and extract details like your name, your contact information, your job titles, your experience. And this is also why we use a clean, plain, boring resume template, because if your resume can't be scanned by the hiring system, it will struggle to pull in your information accurately, and then this can reduce your visibility in the hiring system. What causes readability issues? What do these hiring systems struggle with? Well, anything fancy, multiple columns, text boxes, colors. Again, that's why we're using a plain, dull resume template. If a hiring system struggles to parse your resume, it's not the end of the world, because the recruiter will always have access to the resume that you uploaded, but it just adds another step to what the recruiter has to do. And you want to try and avoid that. So it's just best practice to use the template that we are using and to add key terms and key skills, because it can't hurt. It's not going to make or break your application, but it can only help. And just on the ATS, because there's a lot of misconceptions online about what the ATS does. The ATS doesn't reject your resume because it's 3 pages or because you've left out specific keywords. That's not how it works. Now, this may change in the future where AI can correctly review a candidate, but right now it can't. Right now it makes a lot of mistakes. It doesn't understand the nuances between transferable skills. And the way you need to think about it is that 9 times out of 10, a recruiter is reviewing your resume. So write your resume for the eyes of a human. Right now, these systems don't have the capabilities to correctly assess candidates. Humans are needed right now. This may change, but right now it's humans. And a lot of these myths about the ATS come up because when you apply for a job, you might be rejected in seconds. And this happens for a number of reasons. The first one is that you've answered the knockout questions incorrectly. So let's say you apply for a job and one of the questions is, do you have the right to work? The right to work in Ireland, you say no, you're getting automatically rejected. Recruiters can build that into their system. You'd be surprised at how many recruiters are working on weekends or working after hours and trying to filter down applications for the jobs that they're hiring for. So if you apply for a job and the recruiter's online and they see your application come in real time, they'll quickly scan your resume. If you're not a fit, they'll reject you straight away. And then lastly, some jobs are getting 1,000 applications, 2,000 applications, and if the hiring company doesn't have the resources to review every resume, they might review the first 200 resumes, and then the remaining 800 might just get an automatic rejection email because we just didn't have the time to review those candidates that applied later. So our goal is to incorporate key skills and technical skills here in the technical skills section and the core competencies section to, first of all, show recruiters quickly that we have the skill sets that they're looking for, and then secondly, to help with getting more visible in the hiring system. And just a side note, if you're a creative, if you're a designer, have a second copy of your resume, your fancy resume. And you can use this resume when you're directly networking with people in your industry or when you're emailing the hiring team directly, because your resume isn't getting uploaded to an ATS. There won't be any issues, potential issues. So yeah, have your dull, boring resume when you're applying online, and then have your creative resume when you're dealing with people directly by email. So first up is the technical skills. Here you want to add all the relevant tools, systems, technologies, and software that you have experience in that is relevant for your target role. So if it's listed in the job description and you have experience in that specific technology, even if it's Microsoft Office, add it to your resume, because if it's in the job description, it needs to be in your resume. Now you can also get ChatGPT to write your technical skills section. So in the instruction manual, if you scroll down to ATS Optimisation, section 6, keep scrolling by all the jargon that I just talked about, and you'll see here technical skills prompt. Copy that into ChatGPT based on the job description that I sent you. Identify the top 15 technical skills related to tools, software, systems, and technology for my target role. So ChatGPT will review the job description that you sent over, make a list of relevant skills, and then you can add them to your resume. Now you want to review this obviously carefully and just double check that the information is correct. Like it says here, financial modeling tools. So rather than actually saying financial modeling tools, you want to list the financial modeling tool that you have experience with. Now double check that you have experience with all of these things. If you don't, of course, remove it. If you have a lot of technical skills like I do here, there's a lot of skills requested for my target role. So I can get ChatGPT to categorize these skills. So below the technical skills prompt, you'll see here categorizing technical skills prompt, and then I can say based on the job description, fill in the relevant details, and ChatGPT will categorize my skills here. Now if it's too long, like it's pretty fucking long here, I'd say to ChatGPT, can you merge some of these categories together because the list is very long. So this is much better. It also adds a keyword like data analysis and reporting. So make these bullet points, bold the heading, so data analysis, and then just rinse and repeat that so everything is nicely formatted. So off you go now. While I'm doing this, you go and start adding your technical skills and review the list carefully. Double check that you have experience in each tool and software and technology that is listed. I'm just going to remove anything that isn't relevant to my experience. But there we go. So technical skills nicely laid out. They can be quickly identified by the recruiter. Next is the core competencies section. You can change this to key skills if you want, areas of expertise if you want, if you're feeling ballsy. But again, you just want to include hard skills, not soft skills, not, fluffy terms like team player, results orientated, communications. We're not adding them. We're just adding some broad hard skills here, just to give the recruiter a high level overview of the experience we have and also to be more visible in hiring system. So go to the key skills job description analysis prompt, copy that into ChatGPT. Based on the job description, identify the top 15 hard skills for my target role, fill in that information, customer, okay, and then we tell ChatGPT not to include technical skills, so because we have a separate section for that. And you see here that ChatGPT will give us a list of the top 15 hard skills, and we can just add this to our resume. If you feel that some of them aren't, like collaboration, delete that. Like just review the list and just make sure that they are high level overview hard skills. Like we don't want critical thinking, problem solving. Maybe just ask ChatGPT for the top 10 skills. And because data analysis, like financial modeling, I have data analysis and reporting here, so I don't need that. So you just want to streamline the information. I'm going to add a bit of a gap between the two lists. I'm going to add an extra space to the bullet point. Just make it cleaner. Pipeline management. I don't know why that's funny. It's fucking funny. So yeah, so you just go ahead now while I'm formatting this. data visualization. And these are the, the relevant hard skills for my target role. You can also look at the job description. If the job is on LinkedIn, if you scroll to the bottom and if you click show qualification details, you will see here the skills that are associated with this job. So for the hard skills like customer relationship management, you want to make sure that that's on your resume. Pivot tables, customer success, those type of things. So review the skills section at the end of each job on LinkedIn to find out what skills you need to add into the core competencies and technical skills section. Now we have our skills added, it's time to finish up the resume by adding a professional summary. And what your professional summary is really useful for is showing the recruiter that you're qualified with just a quick glance. Because you can do this with just one line by saying that you are in my case, I could say I am a customer success professional with 5 years experience in the tech sector. That's one of the requirements for my target role. So I recommend if your experience and your job title matches up with the role that you're applying for, include your job title and the years of experience that you have and the different industries that you've worked in if they're relevant for the job that you're applying for. So fill in that template as listed here. A lot to consider here. What you enter into your professional summary will depend on how your experience aligns with your target job. Because if you have less experience than required, if they're looking for 10 years and you have 7 years, there's no point saying that you have 7 years experience because the recruiter might reject you automatically because they're like, okay, they don't have the number of years experience that I'm looking for, get out of here. So in that case, I wouldn't include the years of experience in the professional summary. Same if you're overqualified, if you have 20 years experience, but they're only looking for 10 years, I wouldn't say 20 years. I would either just say experienced or a wealth of experience, or I would specify the different areas. So I'd say, let's say the job is looking for 10 years project management experience, 6 years, I don't know, data something experience. I would specify that I have 10 years experience in project management, 6 years in data. So I try and spread it out. If your current job title doesn't match with the role that you're applying for, you don't need to include the job title. You could just say sales professional, or you could list the industry that you've worked in rather than the job title. So you could put sales professional with 10 years experience. So to help you with writing your professional summary, if you go to section 7 of the instruction manual and just scroll down to, I've included instructions here on what information to include and when. But yeah, use the template. The template's in the resume. Fill in what's relevant to you. If you need help with this, I've included an example here. And in the duties and responsibilities, under bullet point 1, you'll find ways to lay out your experience. If you're making a career change, I've included a template here. You don't want to focus on the job title. You want to focus on the skills that you have that are relevant for the job. So if I was a customer service manager moving to project management, I wouldn't say I'm a customer service manager with 10 years experience. I'd just say 10 years experience in, and then I'd list the different relevant areas for the job. So project coordination, I have 10 years experience in team leadership and training and process improvement, and these are the different sectors that I've worked in. So this is a much better way to get across that you may not have the direct experience holding the official job title, but you have the skills and experience to do the job, and that's what matters. So I've included a professional summary opening line prompt to help you with this process. So just if you're struggling to write a professional summary, throw this in here. And if you're making a career change, just change the template in the prompt to the career change template. And if ChatGPT writes a bunch of fluff, just ask it to streamline the summary. So I'm going to fill in mine. And you see here, the job that I'm applying for is a customer success operations. I could say customer success professional, customer success specialist, even though that's not my actual job title. I'm saying the area that I specialize in. I could say 5 years experience in customer success operations. And then I'm just including the different areas that I have expertise in and the industries that I've worked in. So there's no exact right way to write this. It will be highly dependent on your own experience and the job you're applying for. And it's about trying to figure out how you can paint your experience in the best light to match up with the role that you're applying for. So off you go now. Use that prompt or use the template, whichever works best for you. Now, I've included a template for another bullet point here. And again, you can use the professional summary to highlight experience that the recruiter needs to see. You can highlight mandatory requirements for the job. If the job is looking for a specific license, you could mention this here. If you want to highlight maybe success over a long-term period, you can add an achievement here that tells the recruiter that. A good example would be if you're in sales, you could say you've hit your sales targets year over year since 2019. So you can get a long-standing achievement in here just to get across that you're qualified for the job. So that's one thing you can add here. So in the instruction manual, I've included a bunch of different examples for bullet point 2 in the professional summary section of when to use this example here. So highlight a long-standing achievement. I've included examples here. If you're applying for a technical role, you can detail the different technologies that you have experience with. So run through some of the examples there to give you ideas. I've included a template in the resume template for you to fill in. And of course, you can use ChatGPT to write bullet point 2 depending on your experience. If you have information on page 2 of your resume, maybe you have a big achievement here on page 2, but it might get missed by the recruiter because page 1 is going to get most of the attention. You might want to put this in your professional summary. So I've included templates for that. I've included templates, an example if you want to highlight your remote experience, your leadership, your professional growth, any awards you've received. If you want to highlight if you're multilingual and you're applying for a job that requires a second language, experience with technologies, if you have experience working with government agencies, institutions, templates for that, templates for community involvement, templates for education and training. If there's a mandatory degree or license that the job is asking for, get that in your professional summary. So there's templates for that. There's templates for professional memberships. If you need sponsorship or if you have a visa, this is a great place to mention that information. Again, I have examples and templates in the professional summary section. So run through that, fill in what's relevant to you, and then we'll start wrapping things up. Lovely stuff. So now I want to talk about employment gaps, okay? So if you've been out of work for more than 3 months, you want to demonstrate recent activity on your resume, because a key concern for recruiters and hiring managers that if you're out of work long term, that your skills will start to diminish. Of course, this will depend on the industry and the profession, but it's always a good look to show that you are remaining active, that you're keeping your skills sharp, that you're continuing to develop your skill set. This will make you more attractive. This will take the attention away from the gap, make it less of a problem. Of course, there's always going to be recruiters and hiring managers that will have a problem with your gap. You can't please everyone. All you can do is just put your best foot forward, and the type of employer that you want to work for will be open-minded and understands that life just gets in the fucking way sometimes, all right? So, how can you demonstrate recent activity on your resume? I'm going to show you how to lay that out, but a few ideas. You can mention any certs, any education, any training, any online courses, volunteering, if you've freelanced, if you've consulted, if you've mentored people, if you've offered career coaching, if you've created content, if you've built a portfolio, if you've joined a professional association or membership. These are all ways that you can show that you've been remaining active. So in the instruction manual, section A, I've included examples here of what you can add to demonstrate recent activity, regardless of what you've been doing. You want to rejig your resume so that you have a career highlight section within your professional summary. So you want to just put the focus on your skills and experience that qualify you for the job. So with a highlight reel of what you've done over your career, that you're including achievements and experience that showcases your relevant experience for your target role. You can do that with 3 or 4 bullet points in your professional summary. And this takes some of the attention away from the gap. So in the instruction manual, I've included examples of what this will look like. For example, I have three bullet points here getting across my experience. You can add the key skills, core competency section up here, the technical skills section, just again to show the recruiter that these are the areas that you have expertise in. And then in the professional experience section, you can add a heading above your most recent job, and you can just title it professional development and then talk about what you've been doing since your contract ended. See, I'm adding context here to the role, and then I'm telling the recruiter what I've been doing. Another example here, I'm leading with the highlight reel, and then I'm adding the different certs I've completed or I'm currently enrolled in. So again, I'm showing recent activity. I'm showing that I'm out there getting active. Volunteer work as well, soup kitchen assistant. Again, I'm just highlighting that I'm doing that now. Then you can add the key skills. Then you can add context around your role, why it ended. And in the instruction manual, I've added some more examples. Oh yeah, and I just want to mention that this type of layout is great if you're making a career change, because you're focusing on your transferable skills. And if you can show that you've already invested in the career change by taking on a course or a diploma or whatever training, you've already started the process of making the career change. You've already started investing in the new position. And this is just great for recruiters. You're showing them that you possess the skills that they're looking for as well. So you can rejig all of this. It doesn't matter where you did what you did. The skills that you used in one job are going to transfer to another. So it's just about showing how you use those skills to get results for companies. And then focusing on how you've began training, educating yourself for the new career, and it shows commitment to the transition. So yeah, in the instruction manual, I've included other examples for adding context. If you've been out of work for 3 to 6 months plus, you could add a sabbatical and include an end date. So the current month or the previous month to show that you're back in action. You can mention that your contract ended, when it ended. You can say what you've been doing during your time off. You could say you were renovating your home. You could say you were volunteering. Sabbatical is great if you've been out of work due to a health related issue. I wouldn't mention the fact that you were out of work due to a health problem. That creates all kinds of bias. So I wouldn't mention it. I'd go with the sabbatical example, or trying to demonstrate recent activity like here where you have the professional development, the time period, and then you say like you took a career break to reevaluate and refocus your career and objectives, and saying what you've been doing, invested in coaching, training, etc. Here's another example saying that you were laid off, enrolled in a course, self-studying, focusing on specific areas related to the job, standards, benchmarks related to the job. I'm also mentioning here that I'm an active member of a professional association and I participate in networking events, online workshops, etc., etc. If you are a caregiver, it can be helpful to add context to your resume. So again, this is an employment gap template, and you say here under professional development, you're talking about, okay, why are you out of work? Took time away from full-time work to care for a family member who has now made a full recovery. So here I'm telling the recruiter that the reason why I was out of work is no longer a problem. And then I'm telling them how I have invested in professional development. I'm enrolled in a course, so on and so forth. And again, you want to add that context around why your recent job ended, if you can add context. Of course, if you were fired, obviously you don't want to mention that. But yeah, the 5 different examples I've put together for employment gaps, yeah, you will find in the resources folder number 4, examples, gap examples, and I've put together 5 different examples here. Sorry, I never demonstrated the career highlights. So this is what it can look like. Again, you're just flooding the recruiter with all your biggest wins and achievements, showing that you have the skills and ability, and then you add the information about your professional development. Contract ended, so and so, took time out to reevaluate career, renovate home or whatever, or fucking, enrolled in a course or volunteered or whatever it is. This is the way you need to think about it. So run through the different examples and see which one is relevant to you and tinker around with them. Again, there's no perfect approach here. Some recruiters are going to care, some won't. All you can do is lead with a strong professional summary highlighting your biggest wins, then demonstrating recent activity, and yeah, let the cards fall where they may. If you had multiple short-term contracts, in section 9 here of the instruction manual, I've included a template, an example of how you can lay this out. But essentially you want to consolidate the roles into one employment entry. So you have the job title, various contract roles as the company name, and then you mentioned you secured multiple contract-based positions with the different companies, and then list out your biggest wins and achievements. This way it doesn't, if you have multiple employment entries on your resume, it looks hoppy, job hoppy, that can cause problems. So by consolidating and merging the different roles into one entry, it can just help, present your experience better and get past the application stage. So review section 9, that's relevant to you. So now it's time to compare your resume, what you've written so far, with the job description for your target role. So if you go to the instruction manual, section 10, comparing your resume to the job description, this prompt is great because it will highlight the gaps in your experience, and then we're going to ask ChatGPT to fill them. So what you're going to do here is give ChatGPT the job description again for your target role. So based on my target customer success operations. So I'm asking it to compare the job description with my resume. So where it says insert current resume, I'm going to, of course, insert what I've written so far, pop that in here. And then below it, I'm going to fill in the details about my target job, customer, and then I'm going to give ChatGPT the job description again. No harm in just refreshing its memory. Enter job description, paste it in. What ChatGPT will do, it will compare your resume to the job description. It will highlight where we are a good match, and then it will identify potential gaps and recommendations on how to fill those gaps and make your resume more qualified for your target role. So it gives a summary of everything. So run through what it tells you and figure out, okay, is there a way that I can incorporate the missing experience? And if you need help with this, I have a prompt. It's called Filling Experience Gaps prompt. So what this prompt will do is it will get ChatGPT to write bullet points for you that fill these gaps, and it will use your resume and use your experience to fill the gaps. So you want to make sure that what it writes to help you address the gaps is relevant to your target role. You might need to rework these, you might need to tweak them, but essentially what ChatGPT has done here is it has filled the gaps using your resume. It has found ways of highlighting your transferable skills or duties and accomplishments that are similar to what your target employer is looking for. So review each of these, tweak and tailor them, and then add them to your resume. And then that way, your resume is going to be a much better fit for the role that you're applying for. So this number 10 is crucial, very important step for your resume. So after you use the compare your resume with the job description prompt, you're using the filling experience gaps prompt. And once you've done that, with a bit of luck, you'll be a really strong fit for your target role. So off you go now, make the changes, fill the gaps, and then we'll keep moseying on. Now I want to talk about removing AI slop. So a lot of the prompts that I've given you will help remove the fluff that ChatGPT generates, but go through the instruction manual and you will see here under 11 final edits, I've included some instructions on how to remove filler words and empty outcomes. It will just add on words that aren't necessary, like detailed, thorough, meticulously. These are just filler words that don't add anything. You also want to remove any empty bullet points like assisted in meetings as required, fulfilled additional responsibilities as required. This doesn't tell the recruiter anything. To humanize the language in your resume, I've included a prompt just to make the resume read more naturally and more authentic. Now, of course, you can go off and do this yourself, and I've included replacement words that will help soften the language of your resume and just make it seem like you wrote it. You may have wrote it, who knows? But yeah, run through the replacement words, see if you can soften the language, and also use this prompt with ChatGPT, humanize language prompt, throw in the bullet points that you think are just very robotic and very AI ChatGPT-y, and ChatGPT will soften the language. So yeah, it's worth throwing this prompt in, and this will help just make your resume read more naturally, more authentic. Now, once you've done that, you want to read through your resume, and if you see anything that overlaps any experience that is similar, because again, you want every bullet point on your resume to tell the recruiter something new. Under each job, you want the bullet points to tell the recruiter something new. So if you see that some bullet points are similar and could be merged together, use the merging overlapping experience prompt and fill in the information, that's the placeholders that are bolded. And what this will do is it will help just make your resume more concise. You can keep it simple as well. If you see two similar bullet points, you can just say, how can I merge this one with that one? And after updating your experience and consolidating any of the overlaps, review your resume and just make sure that it's free of repetition. If you see a similar word keep popping up, if you're using the same words over and over again to describe your experience, it can kind of blend all of your experience together and make it repetitive. And this works against you because it's going to be harder for the recruiter to notice your wins and your experience and the good work that you've done. So you want to vary your language, mix it up, make it new and fresh. So I've included a language variation prompt here. So insert the bullet points that sound similar or you keep seeing the same word pop up and use this language variation prompt. And away you go. Now we're nearly there. You wanna now spell check and proofread your resume. So I recommend going through section 12 of the instruction manual and just going through each step, taking your time to reread your resume. I recommend coming back in 2 days' time or tomorrow. Come back tomorrow and read it and you'll find things that can be better phrased that are clunky. But yeah, I've included all the different checks that I use when I'm writing resumes for my clients. Run through this. This will make sure that there's no typos or grammar mistakes, because if there's mistakes in your resume, some recruiters will reject you for that. And especially if writing is important for your job, an executive assistant, everything needs to be perfect. It actually has to be perfect. And as well as spell checking, just make sure everything is neatly laid out. I've included in part 13 of the instruction manual, you will find ways that you can just tidy up your resume. You want to bold key information as well, any key metrics. You want to bring them to life, make them stand out. When it comes to the number of pages, I wouldn't worry too much about it if your resume spills onto a third page. Once you've followed the instructions here, your experience will be all of it will be relevant for your target role. But as I mentioned, a lot of the attention is going to go on page 1, so make sure the most important information is on page 1. When it comes to PDF versus Word doc, I would apply with a PDF because the formatting of your resume remains the same regardless of the device that your resume is opened on. Word docs can get messy on certain mobile devices. Now, of course, if the website is asking for a Word doc, send a Word doc. But to convert your resume into a PDF, just click File, Download PDF, and you're golden. You are golden. Now, when it comes to tailoring your resume for your target role, the way you need to think about it is that when the recruiter opens up your resume, they have the job description maybe on one screen and then your resume on the other. And they're looking at the job description and going, okay, does Paddy have this? They go to your resume. Yes. Does he have this? Yes. So the way you want to think about it is when you go to apply for a job, what I recommend you do is click File, make a copy. And this here, what we've created is your master resume that has everything you've done. And then when you go to apply for a specific job, you make a copy. You change the name of the file based on the role you're applying for. So if I was applying for a customer success agent role, I just change this to the actual job I'm applying for. And then I would run through the job description and make sure that I have as many of the key requirements listed in my resume. So for each requirement on my target role, I want to have a duty or a responsibility or an achievement that matches that requirement. And I also want to order my resume so that it matches the same order of the requirements on the job description. So if a forklift license is being requested in the first requirement of the job, I want to have my forklift license listed in my professional summary, front and center. Now, The requirements on the job, generally the requirements are ordered by importance, by priority. So the requirements listed at the top are going to be more important than the requirements listed on the bottom. So you want to try and tick off as many of those requirements, the most important requirements on your resume. So look out for words like must have, required, must possess, basic qualifications. And like I said, arrange your resume, reorder your resume based on your target role. Maybe add some key terms from the job description into your resume just to make the language more similar. And in each bullet point, explain what you did, how you did it, and what good came out of the work that you did. Now, when it comes to tailoring, once you're applying for one job, one particular job type, the amount of tailoring you do is going to be very little. It's just going to be a matter of reordering your experience, maybe throwing in a couple of key words, maybe removing experience that isn't relevant for your job. So it's not like you have to fucking make a new resume for every job you apply for. You just want to tinker around with it a little bit so that when the recruiter opens it, the most relevant experience is visible to them right away. So the majority of the tailoring is basically taken care of by you building the master resume, which is what we've done here. Now, in the instruction manual, I've included in section 16, I've included instructions on how to tailor your resume for a particular job. I've included a 4-step process, but of course, you can use ChatGPT to tailor your resume for you. So you see here, tailoring resume to specific job prompt. And again, just copy this prompt into ChatGPT, give it the job description, give it your resume, and be very careful with what ChatGPT spits out here. You want to carefully review everything, make sure it's accurate, make sure that it's written well, that it includes experience that you actually have. Another prompt I've included here for reordering experience prompt. Let's say you're happy with how your experience is written. Maybe you just want to reorder the bullet points under each job so that your most relevant experience appears higher. So use this prompt here, reordering experience prompt, and you're good to go. So off you go now. Now, I've also included a job search checklist in the instruction manual at the very end. And this just includes a list of ways that you can apply for jobs and land interviews. So once you're happy with your resume, review this document, go through it. I've included all the different strategies that you can use to apply for jobs, get your application in early, and ultimately it's all about just increasing your chances of getting an interview and then of course getting hired. So that's pretty much it. Thanks very much for building your resume with me. I'm fucking delighted for you if you've made it this far and you're happy with the results and you feel confident that you can go out and get a job, which you can do it. You can definitely do it. Like whatever anyone tells you about the market and so on and so forth, you just need one yes. You just need one person at the right time to open your resume, bring you in for a conversation, hit it off with them. You have the crack, you have the laugh, you connect. You can help them, they can help you, and you get the job offer. You can definitely do that, and that's definitely coming. But you just have to make sure that you're ticking off all your boxes, that your resume sells yourself, that it shows you are qualified for your target role. If it's not written on your resume, the recruiter is not going to assume and guess you have the experience. You have to spell it out for them. Don't just assume that they're going to be able to guess that you did X, Y, Z. Spell it out for them. If it's in the job description, it needs to be in your resume. Literally, spelled out. So do that. Follow the steps in the job search checklist. And just keep plowing forward. You're going to have a lot of shit days. You're going to get lots of rejection. There's going to be days where you're like, what's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you, right? Once you follow these steps, if you follow these steps and you're doing everything you can to land interviews, then it's just a timing issue. It's just a timing issue because you can do everything right. You can tick off all the boxes and still get rejection after rejection. That can happen. But if you keep showing up, eventually you'll get that yes. Eventually it will come. So best of luck out there. I'm fucking rooting for you, right? Go get it. Go get your job. Go get your money. And yeah, take care of yourself.